All right, guys, we got a classic Hannity comment here. This is old school Sean Hannity. So Media Matters has this. Sean Hannity attacks the bottom 50% of income earners for taking from the rich. Okay, that's fun. So I haven't heard this yet. We're going to listen to it the first time together. Let's dive in.
Yesterday I was listening, and you were talking about redistribution of wealth. And I disagree with your premise on it in one way. Our entire country is run on the redistribution of wealth. It started with me when I was 10 years old cutting yards. Neighbors were wealthy. I went over, hey, I need $5. Cut our yard, I'll give you $5. I think that it needs to be redefined. And redistribution of wealth is just simply capitalism. And the people that are the liberals that are screaming about, you know, this person has too much money, that's not fair, they should take the money from them and redistribute it. It's just absolutely nuts.
Top 10% pay almost the entire tax bill, 80% of the taxes. Bottom 50% pay next to zero. That's redistribution. It's that simple. Really it's not that complicated.
So in other words, here's what he's saying. We really, really need to tax the bottom 50% more. It's the old, you need some skin in the game argument. This is what Tim Scott got in a tremendous amount. Rick Scott. Yeah, Rick Scott got in a tremendous amount of trouble for this because he had, in the Republican agenda for the midterm election, he had, basically, we need to raise taxes on the bottom 50% of Americans. Why? Because they're leeches, because they're moochers, because they're parasites, and they need to pay more and have some skin in the game. So in other words, cut taxes for the wealthy, raise taxes on the poorest people in the country, because something fairness. I mean, stop and think about that. Guys, the reason why the bottom 50% don't pay anything in federal taxes is because they don't have any money. They can't pay federal taxes. They have Dickie McGee's acts. Whereas the very wealthy, they carry a lot of the tax burden, but they make all the money. So it's actually a situation where he totally misstates it here. There was a report that came out after the Trump tax bill passed, which found that billionaires pay an effectively lower tax rate than working class people. Let me repeat that. Billionaires pay an effective lower tax rate than working class people. It was like 14 some odd percent, and working class people paid more than that. And by the way, we haven't even brought up all of like the experts and the accountants and all these people. They have a team of people whose whole purpose is to find a way for wealthy people to legally pay nothing in taxes. Nothing. There's a scheme where, like, you borrow against your company and you pay no taxes on it and you keep your money in the company. So even though you're making a tremendous amount of money, you don't actually have to pay anything on it because you're not taking it as quote-unquote income. There's the capital gains rate, which is money you make through investment, is a lower rate than the money you make if you work for a living. Is lower. The amount you pay is lower than the amount you'd pay if you work for a living. This is, like, the system is rigged in the exact opposite way to the way he's saying it. But what he's saying is rig it more. Raise taxes on the poorest people. Which, by the way, I always told you guys, the argument that I heard my whole life, which appealed to a lot of regular people, is they said, well, Republicans want me to keep more of my money and Democrats want to take it, so why wouldn't I vote Republican? I've heard this from my own family members. My uncle, for example, made that argument one time. And then the more I read about it, the more I learned, that's not true at all. When they say, we want to cut taxes, they're not talking about for regular people. They're talking about for the wealthy. For a regular working person, Sean Hannity's admitting it right here. Bottom 50%, pay more in taxes. They want a regressive tax system. That's what they want.
The thing is they now want a wealth tax, a confiscation of wealth. You know, they want a second, a third, a fourth bite at the apple. You risk your money, you invest it, then you're going to get hit with a capital gains tax. That's money you already paid taxes on. You make money, you're successful, you know, and I guess you get to write it off if you lose. But all of this taken into context is we have redistribution, but it's not even that. They want it all. And that's why you see this accelerated mass migration out of high tax states and states with burdensome regulation.
No, the reason you see that is because it is the top 1% that wants it all. It's the owner class that wants it all. They're the ones who want it all. They're the ones who don't want to pay any taxes. Which is why there was that great ProPublica report that detailed, hey, here's the actual tax rate that all these wealthy people pay. So here's the actual tax rate of billionaires, the real tax rate, the true tax rate, they call it. Warren Buffett, 0.10%. Jeff Bezos, 0.98%. Michael Bloomberg, 1.30%. Elon Musk apparently is the most generous with 3.27%. That's their true tax rate. So don't give me this nonsense. It's the top 1%. It's the wealthy that have decided we want it all. It's not working class people who could barely get by.
What I worry about is the conservatives are leaving Pennsylvania, Wisconsin, and Michigan. And that those are states that are already hard for Republicans to win. But you make a good point, my friend. Right on the money.
The bottom half of Americans hold just 2% of the country's wealth, while the top 1% of families have about 33% of the wealth. 1% has 33% of the wealth, top. Bottom 50%, bottom half of America hold 2% of the wealth. This is who he wants to raise taxes on. This is who he wants to raise taxes on. By the way, you want to talk about redistribution of wealth? What about this? The top 1% of Americans have taken $50 trillion from the bottom 90%. This was a Rand Corporation study. And what they found is if you kept the wealth disparity the same as it was in like the 1970s to today, every single member of the bottom 90% in this country will get an extra $1,144 every month for the rest of their life. So in other words, the system has been rigged by the wealthy, by corporations, by billionaires, so that they get the benefits, they get the subsidies, they get the tax breaks, and working people get hosed. And Sean Hannity looks at that and he goes, the problem is the bottom 50%. They often go after a class war rhetoric and say like, oh, the left wants class war. What they're not telling you is they're already waging class war. They're just on the side of the top 1%. All right, guys, that's the show. Love you all very much, as always. Thank you for listening to me babble. I truly appreciate it. Everybody do me a big favor. Click like, click subscribe, all that fun stuff. Click that bell icon so you get a notification every single time a video drops. You could always support the show on Patreon, link below, or you can tip on YouTube. The thanks button's below. Never had a conversation with an advertiser. You guys make that possible. Any bit helps, even if you just give $2 a month or whatever it may be. Love you all who help this channel out. You guys mean the world to me. And do yourself a big favor. Sign up on Substack. We're going to have a great debate coming up this week. Crystal and myself versus Michael Tracy on the issue of the Trump indictments and the criminal charges. Are they legitimate? Are they total BS? I think you all know where I stand on that. We'll get into that and much more. All right, guys. I love you. I'll talk to you soon. Peace. Hey, y'all. Do me a favor and like and subscribe. It helps out big time in the algorithm. Click the bell as well for notifications when videos drop. And watch that video on screen right now. You know you want to.